Alright, so today we're going to be talking about Flask, and Flask is going to be basically our web server in some way. It's built on Python, and it's going to help us use some templating and give us some of the basic, like the basic structure and framework that we need in order to write HTML and deploy that code. So before we can use it, obviously we need to install it. So the first thing we're going to try doing is sudo pip install Flask. Pip isn't found for whatever reason, so next let's try running which pip. Which pip is going to tell us where pip is installed, basically. If you can't find anything here, also try running which pip3, and you can use either of them. User local bin pip3 is where mine is. I'll just go ahead and use pip3 for now. And you should be able to do sudo and then that, copy and paste that, and then install Flask. Great. That looks good. It says the script Flask is installed here, which is not on path. Don't worry too much about that. Actually, why don't we just go ahead and fix that right now? So we're going to open up a new terminal here. And then just like last time, we want to go into our vim bash rc. And there's this magic variable we talked about last time called path. The path is going to be the list of all of your things that all the programs that you want to be able to run from the command line. So user local bin wasn't in our path, and that's why it couldn't find pip3, and that's why we had to do this whole we had to do the whole path and not just type that word. So all we're going to do is go to the end of this line. So the way we go to the end of that line is, again, we just type escape $. Then we can press A to insert, and then you can just copy and paste that. So you go to user local bin, add that in. Oh, sorry. Okay. Now we're going to add that in. We quit out of Vim by doing :WQ. And then we're going to source Vim by either running this or SB if you have it aliased already. So now, if we run, for example, pip install Flask, it should work. Great. So we just added that path into our bash rc and into the path, basically. And now we should be able to call pip whenever we want. So good thing we ended up fixing that. That was a little bit of a tangent, but that's okay. Awesome. So now that we've installed Flask, let's go ahead and actually start writing some code. Give me just a second. Everything is a little laggy right now, probably because I'm recording myself. So the first thing that we're going to do now is let's just go ahead and create a scratch directory. So make dir scratch. And then if we ls here, we should see scratch here, so that we can cd into it. If you have make cd from last time, you should be able to do that right from environment. In fact, I'm going to do that. So we're going to do an up here. So again, up is just cd ... I'm going to rm-r scratch and just prove that make cd should work the way that we want it to. If it doesn't work, then you're going to have to fix it on your own time, but make cd should both create scratch and then cdu into it. And then we want to create a new file called lect3.py. So we want to create it and then we want to open it. So let's do lect4 now. We're actually in lect4. So let's make a new file called lect4. Oh, my to is not working for whatever reason. So I'll just make it manually, and then I can use C9 to open that up. Awesome. So that should let me open up my lect4.py. And now we're just going to add some code here. So first of all, we want to import Flask. That was obviously the point of this first part of the lecture is going to be to use Flask. Then I'm going to make a new app, and the way you do that in Flask is something that looks like that. And then there's a little bit of some like decorators in Python that you want to do. And I don't have any of this memorized. I'm literally copying, I'm like literally looking at code right now. So like, don't worry if this is like a little jargony to you. This is just something that you have to get used to doing. This is just how you add a Flask app, basically. So let's go ahead and do that. That's going to be our index. This is going to be our index method, and that's pretty much the same as like an index.html. It just basically tells you what the app is going to do. And again, because it's a hello world, all we're doing is saying return hello world. Now let's save this. Make sure it's saved by doing Control S or Command S. Then you go down here and then you do Python lect for .py, and you can tab complete to do that. And you should see this message here. It should say it's lazy loading. You should have something here. You don't have to worry about what this is. And now we're good to go. Great. So now all we have to do is go to preview and then hit this preview running application. Awesome. So it looks like there's no application that's running. That sounds like a bad thing at first, but I'll show you why that's actually to be expected, and it's not something that we have to worry too much about right now. I'm just going to move this up here. Let me see if I can just split screen this really quick. Yeah, there we go. So it looks like there's no application here, and you'll probably get this error as well, and that's okay. I'll show you exactly how to fix this. So right now, if you look down here, it's going to show you what port you're running on. And so the port is actually the numbers after the colon. So this 5000 is your port. This is the IP address, 127.0.01. You're not going to have to know this for this class. Actually, you might have to know this for this class, but 127.0.0.1 is localhost. That's the local IP address of any web server that you want to deploy. 5000 is just some arbitrary port that it decided to pick to run on. If we read through this error message, you're going to see a couple things. It says, make sure you have access to your environment and you're signed in. We're obviously signed in. Check that it's successfully running. It's obviously successfully running. It says serving Flask app. And then if you're in the middle of debugging code, your server might be paused. We're not debugging anything right now, we're just running. It says your server might be running on a different port. Make sure it runs on port 8080. Aha! So right now we're seeing port 5000 that it's running on, but we want to run it on port 8080. So we're going to make this modification inside our Flask app. And again, I'm just copying this code from the slides. So I'm not like I'm not like a Flask expert or anything. I don't have this memorized. But this is how you fix that. You say port equals 8080. And then the other thing that we might as well do here is instead of running on localhost, let's run it on this IP address, 0.0.0.0. Let's go ahead and do that and see what happens here. I see a couple errors here. So first of all, it says undefined variable OS, and that's because I haven't added OS here. Invalid syntax. Okay, that one went away, so that should be good. So now we go down here. Let's press Control-C to quit the way it says. Careful on Mac, you also want to press Control-C, not Command-C. So you're going to press Control-C on Windows and Mac here. And then let's just rerun it. So Python lect4.py again. And then let's preview again. Awesome. Now there's our Hello World app. That's all that it has right now. All we have is a sentence that says Hello World in the default like styling and everything. So we haven't modified anything, but that is our first Hello World app that we're going to have overall in CS490. So congratulations on writing your first HTML/Flask app. Keep going here with talking about templating. I wanted to go over a couple more things. One thing is we ran this from the command line last. So last time we ran this, we did Python lect4. This should be in Scratch and then lect4. So we ended up running it this way, and then we did preview running application. That is pretty much guaranteed to work. That's always going to work if you just go right from the command line. The other option you have, which is a little buggier sometimes, is you can press this run button, which will run the Python file. So again, if you look up here, it'll say scratch/lect4, and then you can go and click the preview running application. Either method will work. This one will be a little bit buggier sometimes, so that's just something that you might have to deal with, but I've had it bug out a few times, but not too many. The reason I wanted to suggest this run method as well is because it's actually helpful for debugging. So let's say that we have a print debug statement here. Or let's have a better debug statement. Reached index, index method. Let's say we have that debug statement. So if you want to just get this running, you can press run again, and then next time you preview the running application, you should have this reached index method. Personally, I don't like print statements to debug. I find it incredibly inefficient. I prefer debugging using the actual debugger, which is what you should probably get used to as well. This is going to work a lot better with this way of doing it, because if you see this button right here, so there's a button once you press run. So I'm going to go and press run here. It's not going to stop here, and just to prove it, I'll preview running application. It's not going to stop here because we're not in debug mode. It says debug mode off and everything. But if you say you do want to run it in debug mode, so you just click on that little bug right here, and then you restart it. Now, if we've restarted it, now it's in debug mode. Even though it says debug mode off, I'm not really sure what that's referring to. But now if you see this green, if the bug is green here, then you're in debug mode. And then once we go into preview running application, boom, we have our debugger attached and we're able to use this. If you're not sure how to use this debugger, this is a super important thing to know at some point. I'll probably go over this during some lecture or something like that, but it's way better to use this debugger than to like add arbitrary print statements. This way you can see all of your variables right here. So like right now we don't really have any variables that we've set, but you can see everything under app. You can see all this like other stuff. So if you're already familiar with using the debugger, I would recommend it. Recommend pressing run here and then debugging that way. If you're not already familiar with it, I would read up on it, honestly. It's so much better to debug this way than to debug using print statements. Cool. So you can either, just to summarize, you can either press run and then preview, or if you don't need to debug at the moment, then you can also go down here into your terminal and then just run python scratch/lect4.py, and then you do this preview. Either one should work, but I think the run one is more versatile because it lets you debug on the fly, whereas I'm not sure how to do that from the command line. I'm sure there's a way, I just don't know how to do it.